Hola, buenas tardes.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, thank you very much for being so punctual, and I apologize for this 5-minute delay. One of the speakers will join shortly. He's on his way. His train was delayed, and hopefully the traffic is much better than this morning, so he can be right on time. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Satur Torre. I am the Innovation Manager of the Vodafone Foundation. We support this conference, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the ONCE Foundation for having invited us. For us, this conference is major because it really coincides with the Vodafone Foundation's goals. Touristic apps at destination. This is the title of this session. And for that, Miguel Ángel Sánchez Jiménez from the University of Cádiz is going to come today. Rafael from the Politécnica University of Valencia. And finally, Giuseppe to my right. In the meantime, while we wait for Rafael, we would like to introduce Miguel Ángel Sánchez Jiménez from the University of Cádiz. He holds a bachelor's degree in the business administration and MBA in business and finance by the banking school. He currently is a professor in marketing and market research, digital marketing masters, and tourism. He's the coordinator of the market research of the faculty of research, and he mainly works in the field of new technologies, social media, mobile marketing, and tourism. When I asked him, what brings you here today? He said, well, to identify the opportunities in both sectors, tourism and technology, and to try and build a bridge and to see what is the view going forward in the field of tourism and accessibility. Rafael, who hasn't arrived yet, works for the Politécnica University of Valencia. He works in the city planning department. He works in the field of geographic systems. He coordinates the research group of the Valencia Big Data, and he has cooperated with several American and European universities. His field of research is in the field of new technologies to improve the well-being in cities. Among other things, he's going to introduce a new project that's currently being developed and was born in Valencia. The name of the project was Barrier-Free Valencia, in order to have a more inclusive city. And finally, Giuseppe Esteva García Valdecasas, with a very robust track record in the field of accessibility, especially in the field of employment. He has worked for the ONCE group. A few years ago, he embarked on a major technological project helping people with disabilities with technology, and especially in the field of tourism. He is as chairman and CEO of Map for All, and this year they started up this new company whose primary goal was to roll up this application, Map for All, with information of different spaces for people with specific needs, and he will tell us about what specific needs means. Just to give you a little bit of background, what do we mean by tourism for all, or accessible tourism? It's having equal opportunities to enjoy, because pursuant to the law, people with disabilities are also entitled to enjoy, because this will improve the quality of users, also because there is a niche market that is growing currently, and also because it can help the tourist sector to reduce the seasonality in this sector. As far as companies are concerned, this is sold as quote-unquote socially responsible. So not only the goal is to comply with the rights and to be law-abiding, but to find business opportunities. If we measure the clients, and I'll just give you a few figures now, 1 out of 5 people in Europe has accessibility needs. Besides, the study presented by the European member states present a 1.2% growth rate. We work with Predic, the platform for people with physical disabilities, the Vodafone Foundation, as well as a very important sector, the elderly. We're all aware of the aging of the population nowadays. Data shows that above 65 years old, the number of trips go up and expenses are also going up, and this is again one business opportunity. We are turning the 10th anniversary of the Technology and Tourism for All Congress. I'd like to turn the look backwards. What did we understand about accessible tourism 10 years ago? We understood that there were several scattered sources of information based on different channels, like, for example, family and friends, relatives, people that could share this information about disabilities. But it was very basic, and we could rarely find information on the internet, and it was not really trustworthy, to be honest. Besides, tourism was very costly. For hotels, for example, you had to search for the accessibility conditions, and only you could find them with 4 or 5-star hotels. For us, it really makes all the sense to participate in this roundtable, because along with the Predic and the ONCE Foundation, we started to study the possibilities for these people. We launched several actions like the sailing school, and also we really stressed out the importance of having accurate, updated information on tourism packages for people with disabilities, as well as training actions. We launched several printed guides that you can see on the screen. These were very, very heavy guides. What happened is that mobiles were considered as another tool to gain access to information. With the arrival of smartphones, we uploaded all these guides into the TUR for All application. This is the information provided by Predic. This is not only targeting people with reduced mobility, but it includes other types of disabilities. We really changed the approach in which we accessed information, but also Predic's technicians changed the way they work, incorporating smartphones and tablets in the gathering of information, thus becoming much more efficient. In TUR for All Plus, we are going to upload the latest version, including information from the different surveys and studies, and everyone can upload information that will be assessed by the entire community. It be multilingual, and you can check different routes of interest, and we would like to take a step forward to have proper integration of these data so that they are interoperable with other existing solutions that you will get to know over the talk of my colleagues. And it is very much linked with the social networks and with the possibility to share them nationally and internationally. That was my brief introduction. Without further ado, I'd like to give a warm welcome to the first participant in this round table, Mr. Miguel Ángel Sánchez, who's going to talk about the analysis of mobile applications for tourism destinations and the accessibility that he carried out from the University of Cádiz. Miguel Ángel, you've got the floor. Thank you very much indeed. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before anything, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank for the invitation to me to this Congress, because I find it most interesting. It is paramount, really. It's essential, vital, because oftentimes social spheres and entrepreneurial spheres are detached and separated. And going forward, I believe there will be much more interaction between businesses and the social sphere. I'd like to be brief so we can have an open discussion afterwards. I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about my study. As Satur said, my study is the analysis of mobile apps of different tourist destinations and their accessibility. There have been numerous technological innovations that had an impact on the tourism sector. One, internet, a major turning point, the access to a humongous market. Two, new systems of trade, commercialization, communication. Internet was completely revolutionary. The second change, a very important one from the technological point of view, is the onset of the social media. If you had an opinion, you can raise your opinion, you can add your opinion throughout the internet. It is also very important for the tourism sector, because most of our decisions when we decide about a hotel or a tourism destination, it's based on reviews from other users, and that is why the onset of social media was paramount. And the third innovation was the onset of the smartphones and the creation of smartphones. That was a revolution that took place in the last years. Consumers are called mobile consumers. In fact, most of us in this room, I'm convinced, on the go or coming to this conference, we were using the mobile phone, which we use for absolutely everything. It is an enormous opportunity for companies, for brands and labels to get closer to their users. Marketing shall be close to consumers, shall always be next to consumers, and consumers are mobile consumers, and that really presents an opportunity without paragon. Additionally, all this technology affects the entire process: planning, selecting the trip, purchasing, and finally writing a review if you're a traveler. So therefore, the greatest challenge vis-a-vis the tourist sector is to adapt itself to this big opportunity ahead. I will now briefly describe what mobile marketing is. You will see multiple definitions. This is a definition. Mobile marketing is any marketing activity on mobile devices that are based on the relationship with consumers, with users, entailing a relationship with them forging a relationship with them, and that's why smartphones are very important for interaction, thus having a greater experience, user experience, and finally the distribution after the purchase of a good or service. Mobile marketing has certain main characteristics for the tourist sector. It is ubiquitous. You have mobile phones 24/7. The second one, it's how convenient mobile phones are. It's user-friendly, really, and I'm certain that your parents and elderly people that have never used social media, now they have a smartphone because it's easy for them. As I said before, interactivity is important for an immersive experience relating consumers and smartphones, the possibility to do segmenting, knowing where someone is, thus creating a customized offer for that specific niche. Geolocation, by using GPS on your mobile phone, is paramount. All tourist applications must use geolocation, which really gives you enormous opportunities, and hopefully we can show you a few examples. Now, augmented reality. It's very popular and is hot off the press today, and it is the exposure of virtual reality on a real image. I'm not sure you're familiar with it, but my colleagues, for example, my friends, have a business which is a true destination. It's augmented reality, and through the mobile phone you can see the virtual reality, and it's related to the history of the city, with the tourism of the city. And hopefully during the debate we can discuss what augmented reality can bring about. And finally, marketing is paramount, because if you bring your mobile device to a specific spot, there is heavy interaction. You can access or you can you can make use of the QR codes. Now, so many people are talking about the near field technology, NFC, and many payments can be done with the smartphones. All of these features will really contribute to the tourist sector. Sensitivity. I talked about the sensitivity on my study as the facility of access by users to the new technologies by using their smartphones, apart from their efficiency and satisfaction when using these devices. What is the challenge ahead? The challenge is for users to have better user experiences. And now let me walk you through the study that was carried out, comprising 20 apps, 20 tourism apps, the 20 top-rated apps on the App Store, on the iPhone's App Store. We've analyzed these 20 apps, bearing in mind several parameters and criteria. I'm going to walk you through the findings of this study. These are the findings of the study, analyzing the 20 top-rated tourism apps. 75% of them were free. Only 25% of them were payable. Only 30% of them, and this is a very low percentage. Only 30% of them have been updated this year, as of July this year. So only 30%. They all have at least 2 languages: French, English, German, and Spanish. Mostly English and Spanish. 80% of the applications are private. I mean, they do not come from public bodies, and this is very interesting for the debate. There is a lack of implication by public bodies, and this is very worrying, really worrying indeed. Lack of involvement of public bodies, and they should be much more involved. This is a source of concern. Besides, when the application really fits the needs of users and meets those needs, users always tend to write a positive review as long as it is satisfactory, and consumers then decide to pay back by rating the app, by sharing them with other users. You have offer in every application. You can see the different hotels and so on. 75% of the apps do not allow proper interactivity, and this is concerning me because 75% of the apps consider users as a passive agent. It's like watching television. You just watch it. There is no interaction. You can't really purchase through the app. You cannot share information. You cannot generate contents whatsoever. And this is another area of improvement, really. The functions of the mobile technology are not properly used, namely geolocation, augmented reality, audio guide, multimedia content, agenda, knowing what is going to happen at that tourist destination. There is very limited information. And finally, regarding the design, usability, and easy access of the apps, 3.5 out of 5, so average. So there's a lot of area of improvement.
And especially regarding this presentation, I'd like to thank people for the opportunity. Well, thank you, Miguel Ángel. If there's any question on his presentation, we can take those questions now, and later on, if any other come up, we can take them after everyone at the round table finishes. Any question? Everything seems to be really clear. Yes? We'll give you the microphone and you can ask your question. Could you please state your name? I'm Alemán. I'm Tatiana Alemán. I'm technical director of Predict, and your presentation has seemed very interesting to me. It's the second study that I have seen from universities on mobile applications, and the first was focusing on mobile applications for people with problems in accessibility. My question is, can you mention, based on the parameters of valuation of the mobile applications, which one is the best? Well, I have Excel with a sheet with a list, and the one in Barcelona was the best. I would say that Barcelona is the best destination, touristic destination in the list. The truth is, I have lots of information basing this opinion on it, and you can look for this application. It's very complete. And if your study is published, can you tell us where we can locate it? Mine, I'm not sure if I can give it to you now, but we can talk to you later, and I'll explain you where you can find the file. I think there's a question up here in the front. Hello. I'm a developer also, and I wanted to ask you whether your analysis of the application, what the most common role that you've seen for these applications, that we should bear in mind as developers, and how you evaluate accessibility. Do you bear in mind user opinions also, or exactly how do you go about this? Well, the first question, I'd like to say that the most common thing is a lack of taking advantage of all the possibilities that mobile devices give us. There's so many multiple possibilities and we really take advantage of very few. Applications oftentimes are similar with not a lot of differentiation. Many sectors feel that the differentiation is hard to establish, but they're very similar among themselves. But there are very many things that you can do with them. You have all sorts of functions, but we don't use them in very great depth, considering the number of users that we have. We should look for an application that can show us the place, the museums, the different services, how to, for example, to buy a ticket to go into a museum. A lot of times we don't find this. It's not readily available. We don't know how to go about it. And there's not a lot of integration sometimes with marketing, and that's something we can improve greatly. The second question that you had? Yes. Well, you've answered the first question, orienting yourself towards one standpoint. Well, simply, you've mentioned many features that you were missing in that type, but that doesn't mean that if the application is not accessible or capable, if you also were evaluating. Well, I mentioned that regarding usability and design, the fact that this study is a preceding study, a previous study. It's about sort of a survey for people to really evaluate the usability and design of the application. It's a research project, let us say. My intention now is to widen the scope of this study and that the research be undertaken by users, by persons. But the note that I've put out regarding Thank you. And I don't know if Rafael is here yet or not, but we will move along to the next part of the analysis for a solution that is more specific, another application that we will hear about from Esteban Garcia Valdecasas, who is the founder of the organization that is promoting this application. And we will do this very interactively, and he will show us the application. So I'll turn the floor over to him now, to Josep Valdecasas. Good afternoon. Let's see if I can connect. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Miguel Angel. And I'd like to thank the ONCE and everyone for offering me this opportunity to be here today. And for us, it's a pleasure to be here. The technological solutions that we have been looking at the World Congress in Barcelona recently presented this application. As we've heard throughout the day, we've heard, at least the ones I've been able to attend during this Congress, we're talking about applications at touristic destinations that aren't just for people with discapacities. We're talking about this is a whole concept, and not just are we aiming at people with disabilities, but we want to aim ourselves at mothers and fathers with small children, senior citizens, people who have a reason to look for a place, for example, where their pets can be accepted. And this application allows us now to use 8 languages, and it's in Android too, and it's putting a place into the application with comments and talk about the accessibility that this place offers. On the screen we can see that we have a geolocation. The application by default locates our position, and on the screen we see a mix of the different places. As you can see, we can look at this 2 ways, with the icon of the application or with the logo of the company in a premium version. Each screen shows us accessibility. I here click on bank branch, and I have to be a customer to see this on my device, but I can see the accessibility, and using the blue icons I can see the factors that the institution does meet in terms of accessibility. I can go to another place. Here's a restaurant, Pizza Jardín. And what it says here, or the persons who have introduced the information say it has food dishes without gluten. And this will allow the application gives us the possibility to have filters and to select the type of location or place that we would like to look for. I might want to look for a theater or a movie theater, and I have to tell the application that now our Wi-Fi is a little slow, but I have to tell the application the degree of accessibility that I need, but I can select several options. I could go with Satur, or and may need some help. I might need a wheelchair access, or I might need some sort of audio aids. But I can look at the distance that exists from where I am, and if there are no resources, I can look with putting in another distance. For example, here we should get something. We've got Gran Teatro Liceo Barcelona. We have more developments, more than 30,000 places in Spain are included. We have all of the beaches of Spain and their degrees of accessibility, all the hospitals. There's lots of public information available in the application already, and we have developed Barcelona because we presented this at the World Congress of Smartphones in Barcelona with the hotel industry very present and all the restaurateurs in Barcelona. If we go beyond this, we can look for something different. For example, a restaurant that would meet the basic requirements of accessibility without help for going to the restroom. I can see this on the map as well in list form, and in each of the different sheets or screens I can share this information using the icon for any of the social media that I have listed. In the next versions I have a draft of the following, which we're now developing. This allows me to move using the map, and I don't have to move through icons. I can do that later on when I've determined more. I can have things saved to favorite places, or I can save them by activity, or look at them by activity anywhere in the world based on the activity. If we go back to the application that's working now, that was the draft. The way we introduce a place is by writing in the name. We would get geolocations, and here we would confirm that we are in this place indeed, and then what type of establishment I'm in, if it's a pharmacy, a store, a hotel, etc. Then I would include the accessibility data that I have, of what I'm aware of at least, and then we can have a brief description. For example, in many places there would be accessibility without any need for further help, but there might be one step that has 5 centimeters more that would be different for someone else, so I describe that. And we can include photographs in the new technological developments. We will be able to include even videos, and this must always be regarding the accessibility for users. How am I doing on my time? I've got 1 minute. Okay. Well, lastly, in the next technological evolutions, we'll see that the users will be able to make valuations, and in the criteria for search, they can validate us not just as premium or based on our location, but on our degree of accessibility and meeting accessibility requirements. And I urge you to use this application. Thank you very much. Thank you, Giuseppe. The truth is, it's really interesting, and the app is very participative. I don't know if there are any specific questions, but we've been very quick with all of our presentations to have a longer debate, so. I have a question. Hello, good morning, Giuseppe. My question is, if there are users who would like to use your app, and since you say you have 30,000 places localized, introduced in the app, after 5 years, how do you change? How do you get updates and include new data? Well, as you say, in terms of Spain, we have 30,000 places, but this is about updating this information using users. They will update this for us as they go to these places. For that, we would like to have this in Wikipedia, have this accessibility listed there, because our users are going all over the country, and the certification of that accessibility would be given by our users. And also, when I go places, I might have some questions about the accessibility of certain parts of the establishment, so I can include that as any other user can when I make my visit to the establishment, and I can indicate that if anything is lacking or not right. One question, a quick question. Well, when a user finds an establishment that does not meet the accessibility requirements as stated, what happens? Are you going to allow that person to go in and state this? Well, what we will do, we will have, this is we will have this is international application we're talking about, so we will believe our users, and I can't give an opinion unless I am personally there to inspect it. So I have to be geolocated at that site in order to evaluate it, and that's the same as any user. One last question, and then ¿cuántos usuarios tenéis? Right now we have about 6,000 downloads, but we don't have metrics yet. We won't have metrics for a while now, but we do have a level of users who are participating or interacting with the application. We do not have the real data about if these 6,000 downloads, if they're recurring users or not. Sandra, there's one thing that's important I forgot. In the Android version, for all points of premium points of interest, in the Android version, I think just for Spain, we're using a system called IsVisual. So any deaf person or person who needs video chat with sign language interpreting can contact any point on the premium point on the map, hotel, restaurant, theater, and interact with a sign language interpreter. Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome Rafael. I'm sorry he was delayed on the train, but the important thing that he is here now, and he can tell us about Valencia and how free that city is from barriers. Rafael is a professor at the Polytechnical University of Valencia. Rafael, I'm ready for you. I have your presentation here, and you can start. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be late. What we would like to tell you about is the development of an app that is not yet definitely finished. It's still evolving, but I'd like to tell you about this and the developments we are making. On the one hand, you can see on the slide that Valencia, the capital, is a city that in the last 10 years has turned around completely its touristic activities. It's always been a city with a high level of tourism, but nevertheless, the city of Valencia itself was not such a destination. But in the last 10 years, as you see on the slide, we've gone from having approximately 300,000 visitors a year to having 4 million, and people staying overnight. So there's been a big change in the features of the city's tourism. And for the first time ever, we see a very specific type of tourism, which is cruises, ocean cruises. And in the year 2000, practically, we had only 20 cruise ships a year, and this is now been multiplied by 10, and the number of passengers is much higher. From 1,000, we've gone to 400,000, and we are a big city in terms of cruise tourism. Thanks to this transformation, the city has had to adapt itself and its infrastructures at the port to be able to handle this new situation, this new type of tourism, and it has also had to adapt its own infrastructures for being able to become a city that's more attractive than it was before. Despite this effort it's had to make for adapting infrastructures and facilities, there are still some deficits that have to do with accessibility and things that can be improved. Specifically, to understand this deficit, we have this graph where you can see the age of the tourists that visit us in our city. We have approximately 30% of our visitors who are older than 55 years of age, and the correlation with problems of accessibility is much higher. Therefore, this started to worry us 2 years ago. We had a research group at the university where we discussed why not try to see if Valencia wants to be a smart city, intelligent city. Why don't we try to channel that intelligence by making it an inclusive city, and make it intelligent thanks to including everyone. And the development we are now doing in Valencia is about accessibility, and it's an app that intends to do something quite simple. It's to have a router that will guide us through the city and help us avoid any sort of physical barrier. It seems easy at first, but the undertaking and development of the application, as you will see in very brief explanation, shows us that from a technical point of view, not so much, but especially from field work, it's complicated, the gathering of data. We were talking recently about this, a colleague and I, but I want to say, what do we want to achieve with this? Well, we want to improve the self-esteem of users. Certainly an application, what it does is help users be more autonomous, certainly it has to be a reliable app, however, and we want to help users identify the areas that are least accessible in the city and make these visible to the local administration as well, so they will know where to aim their efforts to make Valencia a better and more accessible and more integrating city. In the prior analysis around the accessibility of our city regarding applications related to accessibility, the ones that we studied, we realized that we could say there were two types. There were the type of apps of crowdsourcing, accessibility apps that use the muscle of collaboration to include information in the app. These have an advantage and they have disadvantages, of course, but there are also the urban accessible apps are not just mainly for urban spaces, but especially for destinations, for the place where the person is actually going to go. a theater, for example, a hotel, and we wanted to be in the middle. We wanted to offer real routes traced through the cities that could be followed and avoid barriers if there's a lack of sidewalk or a problem with the pavement, etc. And for this purpose, obviously, we have had the chance, and I hope we'll have the chance later on to look at a lot of field work. We're halfway through right now doing the city of Valencia, which is the largest city in our community, in our region. It's 850,000 inhabitants, but we've got three entities: the Polytechnical University of Valencia and the University Hospital La Fe, which is the biggest hospital in the region. We're working together with the service of rehab in the hospital that's going to reabsorb this information. And we're also working together with the Cartographic Institute in Valencia through working on an app that is helping us get more information for our new app. And this way, I think I've given you a general overview of what we're doing, and now I'm ready for any questions if you have any. Thank you very much, Rafael. Thank you, Rafael. And just as in the preceding interventions, does anyone have a specific question for what Rafael has talked about?
It seems there are no questions, but I'd like to do an open question to all the speakers today. What do you feel about the fact that in order to give answer to these needs, we could find a single app that could simplify the browsing process for users? A single app? Or do we really necessarily have to have multiple apps? And in that case, do you think they should be interoperable, or in order to optimize the effort when collecting data? Not only collecting data at the onset, but also the maintenance. I think that's key to the success of these apps. So, anyone? As far as I see it, the more you try to approach, the less you do. So, a single app, meeting all the needs users have, I don't think that's going to be possible. I am a firm believer in segmenting, in solving their unique needs with an application, really. So a single app approaching absolutely everything, I don't think that is going to be feasible. As I said before, I love segmenting, but I'm certain my colleagues will disagree, perhaps. Giuseppe disagrees clearly. There must be a lot of specialization, and I agree with that. But that really creates ghettos. It's like, I can only go here or there. So, for example, myself, I go on a wheelchair. I have 2 children, and I have a dog. So, if I go with my entire family, I'll have to use 3 different apps. One for people using wheelchairs, another one for people using guided dogs, and another one for people with children, so child-friendly places. So we're all moving around with people. We don't ever go alone, or we rarely go alone. And perhaps if you're going with your grandpa, you need to go and use an app that's available to everyone. So I think that should be open to all the needs. I was only thinking about marketing here from the business point of view. The more segmented the market is, and the better we solve specific needs the greater the differentiation will be. But I agree, Giuseppe, I agree. There is a social reality, and we really need to avoid creating ghettos. So I agree with you in that sense. I'm going to give the floor to Rafael. I'd like to ask my question again. It seems that a single application is more attractive, an application bearing in mind all the preferences, and I really loved how Joseph talked about specific needs. But we've realized there are multiple applications depending on the region, the city, and that's where your app is present, really. Indeed. In line with your question, let me tell you that the real goal would be to have a single app, a place that allows you to, or an app that allows you to go to a place, Valencia, for example, knowing that from the accessibility point of view, it's going to give you information about the accessible points. Sometimes that compromises the projects, because there are technical difficulties we cannot forget. But it should be the ambition. It's an aspiration, really. The search for a single application. We, personally, at the La Fe Hospital of Valencia, one application called Realergo for people with allergies, and finding the most adequate route for people with allergies based on their allergies. They've got allergy to pollen, or they have allergy to certain olive trees at this time of the year. Well, in parallel, we've also developed another app for school children in order to avoid sedentarism. And we wanted to combine both, but we realized that both projects were running at different speeds. Initially, the goal was to have them together. In fact, if we move forward, perhaps we can launch one application, one health application for Valencia. Any questions, any remarks, anyone wants to contribute? I'd like to make my humble contribution to this very interesting debate. The problem, the way I see it, is not that there is one or two or multiple applications, but who has the information, who handles the application. So earlier on this morning, talking about the smart cities, we realized that perhaps from the public institutions' point of view, from city councils, perhaps they could launch a source of information. So developers really will go and search in this database for information, and then we'll adapt it to our needs, because we're all different. I'd like to know your opinion about it too. The question is, who is the owner of information, and how the different sources of information can speak to each other in order to come to the common goal. Giving users the free choice to choose the interface and to gain an insight into trustworthy information. Hola, buenas tardes. Soy Frances Argos. Mi pregunta está muy relacionada con la pregunta anterior. ¿Quién es el propietario de la información? ¿Quién es responsable de la misma? Y creo que obviamos la cuestión de dónde provienen las aplicaciones. Bueno, cualquiera puede hacer una aplicación a día de hoy. Tradicionalmente, la oficina de turismo era la responsable de la parte de marketing de la región, de la ciudad, pero a día de hoy creo que esto es accesible para todos. Cualquiera de nosotros puede hacer una aplicación, cualquiera puede presentar esta información. Entonces, me pregunto, ¿cuáles son las implicaciones de cara a gobiernos, sobre todo? Y cuando hablamos de turismo, ¿de qué estamos hablando? Porque ahora estamos hablando de una naturaleza colaborativa, donde tenemos que tener en cuenta las redes sociales. Yo, por ejemplo, considero que las oficinas de turismo no están atendiendo estas necesidades. Están ahí sentados, muy alejados de la realidad actual. Y puede que en España, que es puntera en turismo, a lo mejor vosotros tenéis la fórmula del éxito para poder crear y forjar cierta cohesión entre todos esos operadores mayores y pequeños y las grandes organizaciones que se han hecho cargo del turismo. Igual es una cuestión política o de índole social, ¿no? Bueno, una pregunta y también un reto, diría yo. A question and also a challenge. Interesting comment. Thank you very much. It's open to all the speakers today. Please reply to this question. Who is the owner of data? And what, how can we find quality data, really? This is a fundamental issue because all the applications that are working with big data, with the endless amounts of information, they need to be accurate, they need to be reliable, but also, and most importantly, maintenance is not to be forgotten because, as I said before, the previous speaker said, in a country like Spain, cutting edge in terms of tourism with a strong potential, endless numbers of visitors every year who need to have reliable, accurate information in a very limited period of time, it is a challenge really, and I agree. Many public bodies and public administrations, especially the biggest city councils, Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia and Seville, they have specific platforms of open data. For example, in Valencia, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a logo, Valencia Open Data. So it makes sure that there is quality data guaranteeing and making sure that this is reliable information so all users can use them freely and they can enrich the application. Yes, there is a lot of information. You may be surprised when I check the information in Barcelona, the city of Sabadell, for example, that I'm very familiar with because I was present in the Smart Cities Council there. Well, it's very quality information. Also, the city council in Tolosa, it's also a great example. In terms of city accessibility, we have a long way to go because Valencia, for example, does not have an inventory, a perfect inventory, and data is not really updated, to be honest. I reaffirm Rafa's comments. It not only applies to the City Council of Valencia. The largest city councils have open information, but there is no information about accessibility. Yes, you may have some odd piece of information, but if you are talking to the public administration, the accessibility information, it's really, really varied. So that information does not exist in a single file, not at the regional level or pharmacy by pharmacy. We have to draw an accessibility form in order to include information about accessibility, because not even the official Association of Pharmacists has this information. This is a problem. the lack of information regarding accessibility. Yes, you may have geolocation of the pharmacies or the stores, but the geolocation is there. Now, however, accessibility and the level of accessibility which really concerns us all, which really facilitates the lives of our users, that is absent. And the maintenance, of course, is the maintenance by users, the army of people certifying this is paramount, because otherwise the financial cost will be unbearable. Would you like to add any comments, Miguel Ángel? You have 2 minutes. In line with what our colleague said, I'm very surprised about the difficulties the public sector encounters to move forward in the field of technology. They are obsolete. As I said before, there are very limited tourist apps sponsored by city councils because they lack the information. But that also happened with the internet, with the social media. The public administration is always late, always. And the same thing is happening with the smartphones. They find it very difficult. They are reluctant to embrace technology. They believe it's incompatible with what they are, which in reality is not true. They'll have to get adapted to it. Thank you very much indeed. There are lots of pending issues, of course. There are lots of open questions. And we have open challenges. How to handle information, how to make the maintenance sustainable. And I'd like to thank the participants, Miguel Ángel, Josep and Rafael at the round table, but also the attendees for their very lively contributions to these round table. Thank you very much indeed.